conversation. So yeah, just make the whole class very interactive. So I find it really boring when it's just teaching only one person is just talking. So I don't want to be the only one talking here. So it's really nice to meet everyone. I will just let me share my switch on my camera so you see my face. All right. Good evening, everyone. Please, if you can see my face, please just let me know. So I'll just know that my camera is working. All right. Great, 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 great. Yeah. So without wasting much time, I'll just start by sharing my slides. Okay. So before that, my name is Dolapo. I currently have work as a product manager, and I work with some incredibly talented people as we build an edtech solution, and that's PWSL for school administrators and to make the learning for students very easy. So every day where I show up at work, we iterate on so many things every day to make the lives of our clients and customers better when it comes to the aspect of work. So basically, that's a background of myself. I also have a technical background in software engineering, and which is serving me well because there's the aspect of management in which I am at the moment, and I have technical persons working with me. So the technical background gives helps me a lot with this guy. So I wouldn't be bothered, if you understand what I mean. So without wasting much time, I'll be taking this webinar, acing the interview. Please confirm if you can see my screen, please. Could send an emoji. Great. Great, 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 great. So acing the interview and practical strategies for management roles. So I want to believe the majority of us on the call, we are in one role or the other, whether it's developers, probably you're also managing somewhere, managing a product somewhere, or managing a project somewhere, or whether you're a cybersecurity expert, whether you're a QA tester. Basically, I want to be the majority of people that are here are in the tech field. And if you're not in the tech field too, please don't run away. This webinar is also for you too, because one way or the other, you stand before people who are going to interview you. So I'll start now. Before I start, let me just switch to the next slide. And I'd like someone to confess to me right now. Just read what's on the screen, and if this applies to you too, I'd like someone to unmute the mic and says, yes, it applies to you. Please don't be shy. Thank you.
I suck at interviews and it breaks my heart. I know my onions, but I hate interviews. I panic, I speak fast, my brain freezes, my hands get cold. I can't maintain eye contact, the room feels very small. I wish interviews did not exist. Story of my life.
Yeah, story of your life. Thank you for that wonderful confession. I want to believe that this thing applies to almost everyone on this call. If it doesn't apply to you, man, much respect. Because even me that I'm speaking, at one point or the other in my life, this has applied to me too. So we've many of us have had that experience where we get to, um stand before people to defend something, probably in school, to defend your IT project or to defend your final year project, or to speak before people. All of a sudden, everything you've been planning since way back or for a long time, you just get to the meeting and you start blabbering rubbish, right? And in your mind, you're like, "Ah, but I know this thing now. What thing they happen, right?" So this lady says she says something. She says, "I wish interviews did not exist." Well, for a very long time and for the next foreseeable future, interviews will continue to exist one way or the other. Trying to get jobs in company, some people will have to interview you and you have to convince them that you're the perfect fit for the job. So the wish of interview not existing, you have to just perish that in your mind. As far as you're a professional, you always be you always encounter situations where you need to interview with people and to give people an idea of who you are and the value that you bring to the table. Yeah, so in the next slide, the outline for today's meeting or today's webinar or today's conversation anyway. We'll be looking at exploring different interview formats. When you want to do an interview, you should know the kind of environment you're walking into. You should know the interview landscape, what happens in there. So we'll be looking at that, how to answer common questions. Even the most basic questions. In when you get to interview, you just see that sometimes you flunk you flop it, right? And that's because like this lady here, all of a sudden there's you panic, there's anxiety, brain freeze, your feet get cold, a lot of things. So that it makes your answers a bit all over the place. So we're looking at ways of how you can structure your answer, and we're looking at a very, very popular method that is widely accepted in the professional space, and that's the STAR method for structured answers. We'll also be looking at best practices. So that will be also be, like Hannah said, we'll be taking mock interview exercises. So for most of us on the call, I'll be calling on names. Please don't be scared. I'm not going to kill you. I'll be calling on names and ask questions and you respond back. Try and just make the whole thing very, very interesting. So I think we're ready to start now. So I know the theme of this particular class is the interview in the context of landing management roles, right? And which I will also talk about. But also, I like always starting from the basics, because if the basics if the basics is missing, you're going to always flop, even in the advanced level. You are interviewing for management role because you have experience in other roles. Sometimes could be in a technical role anyway. So you want to move from technical role into management, and that's because you have some world of experience already in technical. So we'll look at all of that. So what's an interview? And on the screen, I'll just read. An interview is a chance for your employer to dig. There's a chance for your employer to learn more about your skills and interests and see how you might fit into their team. That's it. Yeah, it's an opportunity for your employer to dig deeper into the information that you provided on your resume, on your CV. I think last week, for those of you who are not here for the first time, last week you guys did something on putting together your CV and resume, right? So your resume will get you noticed, right? To get your foot on the door, right? But it is the interview itself that will get you that job. So you can't do without the interview, except there is, in Nigeria, well, in fact, everywhere, some people skip the interview process, for one reason or the other. We all know how the world works. So But I won't be going into all of that. But the interview process is very important. So the interview process gives your employer the opportunity to know you more, right? So, and many times people think it's this very, very intense Q&A where someone just interrogates you, grills you, and all. But your interviewer just wants to know about you, right? The whole process is meant to be a conversation, right? I mean, let's talk about you. Let's get to know each other. So even it is expected of them to ask you a lot of questions, right? You make sure you go there, even with your own questions, because in a conversation, a conversation is a two-way thing, right? Let me bring it home. It's like two people are dating each other, right? The important thing, if they're serious, the important thing is the questions they would ask. Okay, can we? I want to know about you. Right? Can we go together? Are we a match? Can we work together? Right? If you like me, me too. I have to like you too. You have to tell me the things that will make me, to like you. So you're going to the interview session to convince your employer, in a conversation, why you are the best fit for that role, why you're the best fit for that company or for that organization or for that team. Now, who are you interviewing with? The 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 recruiter, you see a lot of recruiters recruiting for different roles. Twitter, Facebook, I don't know Facebook really. Twitter, LinkedIn. Sometimes people post things on WhatsApp. The recruiter is looking for someone to fill a role. The recruiter is that person who is going to take your CV, right? And go through it. And it's the recruiter you're going to tell about your experiences. The recruiter is the one that is going to see if you're a good fit for that role. And if he or she sees that you're a good fit for the role, they move you to the next stage, right? I'm saying this in the context of organizations that have this big structure, interviews in different stages, right? So if the recruiter is convinced, right, has had a one-on-one with you, he discovers that you really know what you're saying. You don't just, I mean, you didn't just put stuff on your CV, right? And you can't defend what's on your CV. If he or she is convinced, moves you up to the next stage, and that's the hiring manager. The hiring manager is most likely the person you're going to be working with. And sometimes the hiring manager and the recruiter, they might be the same person, right? Or in bigger organizations, they could be different. So the hiring manager, like I said, will be the person you're most likely going to work with. The next stage is your team, right? Here you're also checked if you're a good fit. If you're paying attention, there's something that I've been emphasizing on. They want to make sure that you're a good fit for the team. I mean, for that organization, and in this case, the team, right? So sometimes the team can, for instance, now if I'm interviewing for a role of a UI UX designer, for instance, now in the interview room, I could have the developers there. I could have the product managers there. I could have the marketers there. I could have the product testers there. So they want to have a feel of who is this guy or who is this lady, and how best, what value is she bringing to the table, right? What value is this person bringing to the table? How is this person going to help me? It's from the interview process that a developer, for instance, will know if he or she will be able to work with that person who is a UI UX designer. Now, the C-level executives, these are the top guys. Most times, like the final stage of the interview, you pass the first three stages. The final stage of the interview is with the C-level executives, right? In this stage, the C-level executive just wants to know, culture fits. The way you speak, do you fit the way do you fit the culture of that company, right? Do you understand the company's vision? And, you don't just go into an interview anyhow. You go into an interview, we you go into in interview what having properly researched the company. So when you're in front of a senior executive, you want to know if you'll be on the you guys on the same page when it comes to their vision, right? And also one very vital tip that most executives usually look for in uh, the candidate or is the ability to be inquisitive. You can't just go to the interview and they ask you question and you yourself you're not asking questions. They will feel like this person will just is just is just here for he's just here. He's not here to add anything. He's just here to to take. So once you're able to convince these people, if you're a good fit, of course you're going to get uh, an offer, right? I want to know if we're still together. If we're still together, can you just react, or probably unmute your mic and say, I'm with you? Right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, the like I said when I started the session, you should understand the interview landscape, right? You should know the kind of things you are expected, right? You should know what you're expected. So the interview format basically will test or assess your behavioral, your behavior basically. It will assess you based on your past experiences. So behavioral interviews could be tell me a time when please tell me a time have you done I mean what was your role in so and so. The second format would be testing your competency and skills based anyway. And this assesses your experience with tools, technologies, and industry standards, right, related to your field. For instance, now you're a web developer and you're interviewing for a role. I mean, you should. I mean, what they're essentially looking for, apart from your previous experiences in other places, are your competency when it comes to using tools, right? A web developer, you must have a firm grasp of frameworks of programming languages and all. Imagine you put all of that on your CV and they are impressed and their minds are blown and they invite you to an interview and they say, tell me about JavaScript, tell me how you're going to solve this problem. And you're unable to you're unable to say stop, just from there, that interview is over. You're not a good fit. So, or that person is not a good fit. So those are two areas or two forms of assessments that employers usually use to assess people. So I give us some example of behavioral interview questions. Can you tell me a professional achievement that you're proud of? How have you handled working with a team with diverse sets of personalities? When they're asking you this question, they're not asking you these questions because they hate you, right? They just want to have companies who know what they're doing. They are very serious about hiring people. So when you get your foot at the door, you must make sure that you're able to converse with them when they ask you basic questions like this. So before I continue, like I said, this class is really going to be, a two-way stop. Probably let me pick a question here. Okay, there's this my personal favorites. Can you share an example of a decision you made under pressure? Is just like professionally saying, what's this thing that's this interview? I mean, employer say, can you work under pressure? I mean, right? Uh, Sometimes companies will not ask you directly, can you work under pressure? Right? But the truth of the matter is that one way or the other, they will find out if you can work, under pressure because you will have to share experience. Because if you have work experiences, of course, there are times where things didn't go as planned and you needed to do something really fast. So I like someone to really, share an experience where in 1 or 2 minutes, share an experience where you took a decision under pressure. Notice it, the question is not as is not how will I put it now? It's not insisting that okay in this particular role, right? Especially if you are coming to interview in a different role and you don't have the experience, you know, you're coming newly. At least there are times in your life where you took a decision under pressure. So if it's too personal to share, don't share. But I'd like someone uh to to do that for me now. Who wants to go for us? Who should I pick names? Who wants to go? Nobody's saying anything. All right. Praise wants to say something. Let's go. Okay. I thought he wanted to say something. Anybody? I don't want to be the only one talking, though. Really. Anybody? Or just pick any question you want, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a decision you made under pressure, right? Just pick any of these behavioral interview questions, and let's have something from somebody. Nobody wants to say anything. Should I call names? Okay, I think I'll call names. Fatima. Okay, Messi. Messi wants to say something. You raise your hand. Call yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Dolapo, and good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, loud and clear. Good evening.
Okay. I want to attempt number one question.
Okay, number one. Great. Beautiful.
Yes. Okay, so it says, can you tell me about a professional achievement you are particularly proud of? Yes, there is one that I'm very, very much proud of. I had a matter that was referred to me from a very good colleague of mine. The person is very good, so the client was sure that he would deliver. However, he was not in town, so he has to push it to me. And the clients were telling him that they are not sure, they don't know me. He was like, "Don't worry, let her handle it." So when I was handling it, they were around, and
Okay.
after the whole section, it was actually a court matter. After the whole section,
Wow.
they came out. They were so happy. And that was my first time of even having my clients in my sections. Most times to just go and defend them, they are not there. So
Okay.
they were so happy. They took me out for lunch and they paid me
Wow.
like thrice of my fees that day. So I felt so proud and happy. Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
that's that's wonderful. I can actually hear it in your voice. I mean, probably the event was a long time ago, but the memory of it is still making you really, really happy this evening. Thank you so much, Leslie. Anybody else wants to go for us? Anybody else? Any question? All right. Since nobody wants to go, we just move forward because of time. So, Messi just, gave us like a short, overview of a professional achievement she was particularly proud of. And as we heard in her voice here, she was actually proud of it. So when you're responding here, as much as possible, don't try to lie, right? Because if you lie, it's possible they will have people who will see through you. And also, apart from seeing through you, they can get in touch with your references because many times serious companies ask you to provide references so that they can have a feel of the kind of person that is coming in, right? So that's for the behavioral interview questions. These are examples of question competency based questions, right? I try to put because my I think my audience this evening I just know that many of us are in different fields, so I try to balance the questions together. So for instance, number one says, how do you ensure your code is both functional and maintainable? This question is for um, developers, right? Software engineers. So describe your process of conducting user research. You must be able to respond to this. You're not just telling a story, you're also trying to give your employer that understanding that, oh, you have good grasp of the tools that you are using, that you will use to conduct user research. Tell me three products of ours that you like best and three ways you can improve it, right? It could also be referring, for the UI UX people. How do you balance security needs? Do I have any cybersecurity experts in this on this call? Cybersecurity, if you're into cybersecurity, just uh, nobody, nobody. Okay. So, how do you balance security needs with operational efficiency? If it's cybersecurity person was here, I would have asked him to answer this. So we'll see how to answer these questions in the next slide. Like I said, a conversation with your with your employer in a structured manner, because you're not going to spend so much time there. Some interviewers will not, they clock out even after 2 minutes. So sometimes I think I was at an event recently and we were asked to pitch our product, and the pitching of product was supposed to be in 4 minutes, right? So 4 minutes, there's no time for too much story. It has to be structured, going straight to the point. So in the interview process, there's no time for too much story, right? Even if you're going to tell a story, which I think is really a brilliant approach to, your story has to be structured. Now we'll see how that works here. The there's a very popular and acceptable approach or method that can be used to answer, interview questions like a professional or like a pro, like I put on my slide, and that's the STAR method. The STAR method, that's STAR, right? S stands for situation. What was the situation you or your previous employer faced? That's what you'll be addressing. Uh, the task, what task or what was your role in this situation? What did you do, and what did your action lead to? If we were listening to Messi, I think I got a bit of that, right? So when you're answering questions using stuff, when you're answering interview questions, this is a very simple and structured way of answering questions like a professional, right? You go straight to the point. The situation, you present the situation, context, give a context to your story, right? And in your story, you're telling your interviewer when this event took place, right? What was your role in that situation? What did you do, right? And what did your action lead to? Always have it at the back of your mind that your employers they are looking out for results. They want to know, okay, for instance, now, you're in the interview, you're in the interview room and you're saying things like, oh, we did this, we did that. In my company, we did this. In fact, the whoever is interviewing you has spoke out already, I promise you. What is after, he or she is after, is what did you do? What did your action lead to? Or what happened? What was your role in all of this? Right? So, for instance, I remember in back in university days when we were asked to write, please don't judge me, please. I'm sure many of us were catered to. Your IT report, right? You write this stuff in that box, we did this, we did that. I remember when we were defending our IT defense back in school. I remember one of our lecturers was like, okay, well, I've seen what you or your company did, right? I want to know what you did so that we will know if we're going to grade you, so that we will know if you didn't waste time, in the yeah, you didn't waste the whole of 6 months for your IT business. So your employees or your potential employees, that's what they're looking for. So that's what you that this is a very simple and structured way on how to answer the question. So we're looking at an example. I put an example here on my slide. So the question, I just picked the question from the previous slides. What professional achievements are you most proud of, and how did you achieve it? So I'd like someone from the answer to extract the situation here, and also extract the task, right? And also um, extract the role, sorry, extract the role or action the person took and what the action led to. Can someone do that for us very fast on the slide?
Sorry, come again, sir.
Great. Using the star method in the previous slide, right? Can you see the screen? Great. Using the star method in the previous slide, I want you to use the star method to extract what is the situation in this answer here. What was the task? What was the action the person took? And what did the action lead to? So I want you to just break it down for me as you just speak back to me. Anybody? Praise. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm not actually crammed this whole star definition, but I'll
I
try
can I
it.
can go back for you.
Okay, the situation. Let's
Okay.
start with the
Can I
situation.
situation? Okay.
Okay, the situation was the spike in complaints about delayed orders.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then the next one is
Next one
the
is
next
the task.
fact.
Yeah, the role of the person. That is what tasks were involved in that situation, what tasks needed to
Okay,
be done.
okay, okay.
Okay.
So in the please next let me see the other day.
Okay.
Yeah. So the role of the person was the customer support specialist.
Okay. So what was his role? I mean, what actions did he take?
And the action was instead of the person to address the issue, address the complaint individually, he or she investigated the issue and discovered that it was actually a bug that
Mm,
automated in the automated inventory system.
mhm. Okay.
So that's the action he took. He investigated deeper. He or she dived deeper and discovered it was actually a bug that caused
O-
it.
Okay. What was his role? I mean, or the result? What did that action lead to?
Okay, apart from he or she discovering that, I think the person also collaborated with the engineering team to resolve
Okay.
the providing proactive updates and temporary
Hmm.
situation to the customers. And then the
Hmm.
result is that within 48 hours, the issue was resolved and the complaint dropped by 60% in the following week.
So, and that's that's a very structured approach, right? That's exactly what your potential employer is looking for. Tell me about a professional or something. Just give me an experience that you're most proud of, and how did you achieve it? Just remember, start, present a situation, right? What was the role required, right? What did you do, and what did that action lead to, right? If you're a security personnel and you're interviewing for a role or as a security person, you can say so. Okay, something like in my previous role as an IT person, during my regular maintenance, this thing, you won't say this thing. During my regular maintenance rounds, I found a security vulnerability, right? So instead of patching it, I'm trying to use security lingo. I looked into the network records and discovered a bug or a virus that has compromised several files. I notified the rest of the team what I did, right? And we quickly isolated the infected files and prevented its spread, right? What did the action lead to? Which saved this what we did that I initiated saved the company millions of dollars. And organizations is all about numbers. Is Let's not lie to ourselves. Profit is very, very important. If someone is going to, if they're interviewing you They're interviewing you because of the value you are bringing it to the table. This value you are bringing it to the table. How are you going to make us more money? Right? Are you going to keep our ratings high? So they're looking for someone who has that experience, who has done stuff that, you know, contributed greatly and added value to wherever it's coming from. It might not be a company, right? It could be like an event, probably in church, probably on the road, you know, different life experiences. So the interview is not a place where you come and be robotic or mechanical, right? It's remember it's a conversation. It's a conversation. So you try to bring in everything I mean, your world of experience, right? Something you're particularly proud of. You don't forget things you're proud of, right? Just like Messi just told us, if I ask her in the next 5, 10 years, I'm sure probably apart from other things that she will tell me, she will also point to uh, uh, that particular moment she was proud of. Do we understand? Do we understand? Good. I like, okay. Great, great, great. I like every other person to also respond too. So we'll practice what we're learning. I mean, what we're learning. We'll have one-on-one stuff. And trust me, during the mock interview, you'll be requested to open your camera. So get ready for that. If you're called, you've been called. So like I said, like I like starting with the basics because when we understand the basics, maybe I want to believe some of us are on the job already, right? We've interviewed for roles, we're there already. Some people on this call too might be wanting to get into a job. Now you have some few tips to be able to, make an impression for your employer. Now, back to our theme in the context of management role. Let me move to the next slide. The context of management role. Now, management is management. So, for instance, now you are okay. Let me use myself as an example. I said when I introduced myself, I said I have like a technical background. So when I pivoted into tech, right, from electrical engineering, I I started with software engineering, right? I went to a school, SQI College University, and I took some courses there, right? Web development, front end, back end, basically the full stack engineering, right? So as time went on, right, I pivoted into management because I saw a need there, right, in the company I was interning for when I first started from web development. So I saw a need and I, one way or the other, filled that role. And since then, with my technical background, I'm managing, right? So you you as a professional, it will get to a point where you will have to manage one way or the other. I there is no, I don't think there's a way out of it because when we talk about career growth, right? Growth is you have to grow, right? So for instance, now of course, if you come in as a junior developer, right? We don't expect you to remain a junior developer for the next 5, 7 years. 5 years is even too much, right? Junior developer, senior developer, it gets to a point where you become the engineering manager, right? Paving the way for others to do what you used to do, right? So because of your wealth of experience in the junior role, in the senior role, and now a manager, you're able to now enable others to do stuff. So you're going from doing to enabling, leading the team rather than doing the work yourself. A manager focuses on the big picture, right? A junior developer, when he comes in, I don't know why I'm saying developer, probably because I'm around them most of the time. A junior developer is most of the time concerned about his code, right? There's nothing that really concerns him about the big picture, except if he's in an organization and they keep on hammering the big picture. the goals and everything, which I think is a proper way to go. But he's different from who is a manager. A manager must focus on the big picture. A manager, an engineering manager, for instance, must be able to balance his technical expertise with strategy, or like I put in my slide there, strategic priorities. The engineering manager is able to prioritize, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. This is what we're going to do, right? The developer probably just wants to do everything, but the manager brings some form of control. The manager must also be able to manage people, right? Mentor, motivate, resolve conflict, right? There must be a leader. The manager must have business orientation, right? You must be able to align every of the team efforts, whether it's the UI guys, the designers, the security guys, the marketers, the legal people. You must be able to bring all of the effort together and align them with the organizational objectives, the main goal of the company that's they're working. I mean, the manager is working, right? So these are the things that interviewers look for, especially when they're interviewing people who are gunning for roles in the management. Anyway, yeah, management. They're looking for leadership potential. They're looking if he has a business. He has a business acumen, right? Does he understand how does does he understand how technical decisions impact business goals? As a developer, you're not just supposed to just ship something to production. I mean, you need someone to be able to say, okay, I mean, does this thing that you did now, is it what our users need now? And what you're doing now, are you not using it to affect other things, right? So, and that's where communication skills also come in. As a manager, you must be an effective communicator. You there's no two way out of it. I learned that almost the hard way anyway, but don't let me share that. But anyway, you must be able to communicate, right? Uh, you must have that. Is a skill that if you don't have, right, and you're going for management role, you might not be very effective because you're going to communicate with different people, right? Not just your teammates or your team members. You deal with users, right? And there are crazy users out there. You must be able to communicate with them. You must be able to know what a user is feeling, right? I remember something my boss used to say. He says you must be able, if a user is smiling with you, you must be able to see beyond the smile, right? A user can be smiling with you, and inside is just like suffering inside, like, oh, this thing that you are building for him is giving him more stress. So you must be able to see beyond that, right? The folks in the junior level, they won't see that, right? So if you're going for the management role, whoever is interviewing you is looking out for these traits. So questions that will be asked you will be around these traits. They want to know when you had your experience leading, right? They want to know how you can balance technical decisions and align them with business goals. They want to from there they're able to know, can this lady communicate, right? Also, problem solving. Are you adaptable under pressure, right? They want to know your experience in solving problems, right? And the truth of the matter is that in organizations, it's all about solving problems. Any serious organization is all about solving problems. Sometimes problems will be this high, some days some problems will be this good. So there's no day where you won't solve where you won't have the opportunity to solve problems. So if you are gunning for a management role and you don't bring this stuff to the table, I mean, that interview is not even going to last 2 3 minutes because there's nothing you are bringing to the table. Are we together? Are we together? Does anybody have any question? I know it's not time for question and answer, but just in case. All right. Okay. Okay. So best practices. So how to succeed in interviews. Well, I mean, since 2020 now, um, we have is either virtual or physical, right? If you're not able, for some of us who will be taking roles, especially outside the country or in different locations apart from where we stay, it's obviously going to be virtual. If they need you to be there, well, that's something that you have to decide by yourself. But if it's physical, um, you have to show up there. I know there are so many roles these days that, especially tech roles, is virtual. Well, I mean, it has to be if we have the opportunity to meet. I mean, this meeting is virtual, right? I can't imagine all of us sitting in the same place now. I'm very sure many of us are in different places. I mean, different states. You know, I'm in a different state. You're in a different state. So the best way to meet is virtual, right? That's that's it. So when you're on the virtual call with your, I mean, here you're also creating an impression uh, for your potential employees, right? Your environment matters. I remember I joined an interview with a colleague, and this guy was on the road, right? And he didn't even he thought it was normal, right? I was even expecting, oh, apologies, this and that. Well, I mean, that created an impression on me already that, I mean, what do you take the people who call this meeting for, right? How can you be on the road? I mean, you have an interview scheduled and you're on the road and you're not even making effort to find somewhere very quiet. So your environment matters. The C-level executives or the senior managers, they don't want to be talking and there will be a lot of, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? That kind of thing. So you must find a quiet and distraction-free environment. It is very, very, very important, right? Make your look professional. I missed out something on the slide here. I put clean background and good lighting. Now, I'm sure many of you can see my face, right? If you can see my face, just let me see a reaction from you. You can see my face, right? If you're on a virtual call, right? If you're on a virtual call and you are black like me, I don't believe I'm black. But anyway, if you're a virtual, if you're on a virtual call and you're black like me, the lighting in your room must be perfect. It must be good, right? We, your potential employer doesn't want to be struggling to see your face, right? Doesn't want to be struggling to see your face. You must make sure the environment is very, very professional, right? If you're going to be joining an interview, I always advocate get a laptop because if you get a phone, well, they are doing this phone stands, but I really still don't subscribe to phone. Get a laptop or a laptop, especially if you read the interview, just get a laptop. A laptop will help you. The webcam helps a lot. You know, you're able to have give your potential employer a good view of you, right? It doesn't make sense where you are doing. Let me hold my phone up. Yeah. My name is and you're all over the place, and the interviewer is just seeing the big nose. I mean, it's they will say this person is not serious, right? So all of that is really, really important. I said big nose because I remember I was on an interview, but this guy he was using his laptop before. I think he had a technical problem and he had to use his phone. So all we were seeing was his notes, right? So because he wasn't holding his phone well, so he had a valid reason for it. But please don't fall into that. Don't allow that to happen. So your tech check, test your camera, mic, data. Um, in order of priority, internet. If you're in Nigeria, I believe we're all Nigerians here. If you're not Nigerian, well, hello. Um, if you know in your environment, the particular network provider is not great, come find another one, right? It will not make sense where you are dropping, you're coming on call and you're dropping, coming, dropping, coming, dropping. You know what you're doing, or you know what's happening. When that is happening, the people who are there, they believe their time is being wasted and they believe money is being wasted too. So if at the stage of interview they see that, I mean, time is being wasted, and of course, time is money, it creates an impression. So if your interview is 7 p.m., right? By 6 p.m., what am I saying? 5 p.m., 5:30, test your camera, test it over and over. And I mean, test your camera, test your mic, test your internet, right? I'll always advocate, even if your internet is great, right? Have other, have backup. If you're using MTN, have Airtel, right? If you're using Airtel, have a backup of MTN. In fact, get 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 those network. If you're using Starlink, fine, right? Because internet sometimes it can be crazy, right? Your interview could be scheduled for 7 p.m. and the day was bright, and all of a sudden before 7 p.m. the rain started falling. These things you can't control, but you must be at least 10 steps ahead, right? Engage actively, right? Maintain eye contact. Look at your camera and speak clearly. Remember, we're still talking in the context of management, right? I've worked with developers who, I met probably some of my developers will say, um, he doesn't like showing himself, right? And I don't have any problem with it. You just do your job. But as a manager, you're expected to be able to communicate clearly, like we said. As a manager, you're not just going to be sitting in the office. Sometimes you need to go out to speak with the client, right? You can't go to the client and be saying, "Mm," and your clients are like, what are you saying? No, you must be able to, you know, communicate clearly with your clients, and how your employers will know will be in the interview, right? If they see that you are always losing focus when you're supposed to be looking directly at the camera, because trust me, these interviewers, they are looking at the camera, they're looking at you, right? So they expect you to look back, right? So that's that. Punctuality. Never arrive late to an interview. Don't try it. Never ever. Except there's a valid reason. And if there is a valid reason, one of the ways you show and prove your mettle as a manager is being able to, like I said, communicate. Not just communicate with orally, but being able to communicate upfront. For instance, now, if someone has been communicating with you that the interview is so date, and he or she has always been following up with you. If for any reason you're going to be late for that interview, you must give that person heads up, at least 30 minutes heads up, especially if it's something that is really, really serious. Just give the person heads up. It doesn't make sense where people, for instance, now there's I've heard a lot of funny stories. Um, So there was this interview. They set up. I was not part of the panel anyway, so but I was in the office while the interview was going on. So my colleague was already waiting. So he waited and waited and waited. He didn't. He didn't. The person they wanted to interview didn't join. So after like 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes, the person just texted and said, "I will not. Be, I will not be able to join. Can we shift it to tomorrow?" Well, till today, I don't know if they ever got in touch with that person. I don't know, right? But that has already created a bad impression already. So how did I get there? Don't come late to an interview. If your interview is stated for 8, right? For instance, now there are so many tools that you can use. Your calendar, Notion, Gmail, Google services, Google, one of my favorite companies has all of these tools available for us. So if there's an interview, even if the company or the organization uh, doesn't schedule you on the calendar, make sure you put that schedule on the on your calendar, right? These tools are very great because they will remind you, right? If 30 minutes before this session started, I got a notification that the manager series will start in 30 minutes. So whatever I'm doing, I'm already preparing for the session, right? So that's that about that. My favorite part of the class activity. Who wants to go? Anybody? Anybody? I want two people. What am I saying? Three people. There are some people that have not spoken, I've not heard anything from them since the beginning. I think our praise has been answering my questions. Mercy has been. Um, who wants to go before I call names? Hannah, am I permitted to call names? Do you have to open camera? If do I what?
Yeah,
In
very
fact,
much. You're committed to call him.
oh, okay. Someone is asking, do we have to open camera? For this one, don't open your camera. Oh, he said there's no light here. There's no problem. Just speak. Just speak. We'll get to the part where you open camera. Not you anyway, anybody else. And please, nobody should give me an excuse that there's no light. Oh, I beg. At least the national grid has not fallen yet. Sorry about that. Who wants to go? Okay, Praise, you wanted to go. Just go. Give it a shot.
What's the question, boss?
Yeah, the question is on the screen. Give me an example of how you demonstrated teamwork in your workplace using the staff framework. It might not be your workplace, it could be any other place. I just put workplace there for putting sake anyway. How's activity has started though?
There have
You
been
don't know.
there have been complaints about CWA students not being serious and not being active, like hands-on project and stuff. So as a data analyst and a data tutor in my company, I had to coordinate with every other training staff to make sure that CWA students' presentation was hardened up, including their LinkedIn skills, and that's brought about 40% increase in the CWA's completion rates.
40% increase in COS completion rate.
About 40% increase.
Okay, wait for it. How did you measure the 40%? Praise, I see there. Yeah. Did you get my question?
Yes, I got your question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
So yes, I can hear you. So I'm part of the interview panel, and you gave me a very nice answer of how you demonstrated teamwork in your workplace. So I'm asking. You mentioned 40%. So how did you measure the 40%?
So we have a list of CWA students that have completed program at the
Okay.
company, and then we have their feedback and their ratings and stuff like that. So
Okay.
looking at a visualization plotted by fellow data analysts, we could conclude that there was that increase.
Okay, so you mentioned about that, I mean, plotting and visualization, right? And you need to make sure that when you're talking, when you move from that framework
Sorry, I
and
couldn't
you're
hear you. What did you say?
okay, so you mentioned about plotting the data visualization, and from there you're able to ascertain that about 40%, ascertain that 40% there was 40% increase in the civil students doing what they're supposed to do. So when you're moving from the staff framework, right, and not even moving from the staff framework, in the staff framework, especially when you're talking about what you did, right, you must be very, very precise and concise about what you did. So you're not just talking about what you did, you're talking about the tools that you used. So if you are in a if you're in the interview panel where there's not just the hiring manager there, probably the other team members there, you need to show them, leave an impression on them that You know what you are talking about. So that's why I asked when you mentioned 40%. Whoever is a data analyst on the interview panel wants to know, how did you get 40%? What did you use to get feedback? What tools did you use to get feedback? What tools did you use to do the data um, um, uh, visualization? I'm not much of a data analyst, but I think there are tools like, um, give me an example. You're a data analyst here. Um,
Power BI, Tableau,
yeah, Power
Python
BI.
libraries for visualization.
Exactly. So you must be very, very, you must give that uh, full answer. So that's because you might not have the opportunity to go back to give the answer again. So you must take the opportunity and give the best that you can. Thank you so much, Chris. Really, you've been very, very, I like how you've been conversing, right? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Nobody wants to go. Okay.
I think you should feel free to actually call on anybody that you choose.
All right. I was just about to say that. So mini mini Ufono Bong Sunday. Anybody? Oh, I didn't say anybody. I just called the name now. Can she hear me? Okay, I'm sure she's hearing me. Mr. Thompson, you've been on this call for a while, so let's give it a shot. Are we shy? People on this call are not meant to be shy. Mr. Daniel Additional, you have something for us? Nobody? Okay. All right. Hannah wants to say something.
But guess let me give you a try. Okay.
Okay.
Um so teamwork in the workplace using staff. Uh okay. So a project that we recently concluded, we had a bit of, how should I put it? Okay, so one of the projects that I just recently worked on that we finally concluded, there was the situation of having to provide laptops and systems for the trainees that were actually training. And oftentimes it got difficult on the organization part to be able to provide for every single one. So I reached out to members of my team and I asked them, each to, bring their laptops for the period in which we needed to do the training. And although it was oftentimes difficult on their part, they just, agreed and they would usually bring out their laptops during this particular time. So it helped us to be able to, improve the process or improve the training experience for the trainees that were actually, connected with us. And it took all our satisfaction level from, let's say, about 2 persons that had laptops of their own to about 8 persons that were able to have access to laptops and follow along with the training. So in that situation, my team members actually exhibited, the collaboration skills that actually comes with working in a team, and not just looking at it from the standpoint of it's one person's problem, but rather we, worked together to actually achieve that organizational goal. So I hope that fits into the STAR framework for you.
Yeah. To a very large extent, I'm able to see that you have influence over people, right? And to make them do what you want them to do,
Yes.
right? So, and if anybody is in the space of product management or project management, there's a particular term which is leading without authority. Or is it leading without authority? What am I saying?
Yeah.
Is it leading
Leading
without
without
authority?
leading without authority. Yes.
Okay, I think I got that. It's been long I've actually made that statement. So, uh, that you just demonstrated how you could influence people. You made them see the goal, the bigger goal. So that's what managers do, right? They make people who they are, directly over to see the goal. I mean, to see the big picture, right? Just like we captured there. So you must keep having it at the back of your mind. Whenever I go into an interview, right? It's not the time to feel pressure, right? It's just a time to converse with people, what I've done and what I did, the results it led to. Simple, right? If they ask questions, right, you're able to, answer the question because you are giving that whatever story or whatever thing you say, right? Nobody, I think it would be unreasonable for anybody to be answering outside of the scope of wherever you give it and you give it. So whatever you give it as giving the interviewer is like you've you've played them into your you've allowed them play them into your territory, right? So you own that territory at that moment, right? So when it comes to tools, you're able to answer what you can do with tools. When it comes to teamwork, you're able to answer what you did with people you work with. When it comes to resolving conflict, right? A time at a particular time, this and this happened, and this was what I did. That's basically what it entails, right? A conversation. So that's what happens during interview. It's really nothing. It's not a big deal that people have made it to be, right? Many times I think it's just the approach to it, right? When you are, when the conversation is free, right? It flows. It just it just flows. So you have to make sure that the conversation uh flows. Nobody's going to kill you, really. So thank you so much, Anna, and thank you so much, Praise, for the for doing my class activity anyway. Any question before I go to the next slide? Any question? Oh, sorry. Additional, Mr. Additional raised his hand. I remember. Yeah, he raised his hand. He wanted to say something.
Okay, good evening,
Yeah.
Mr. Dolapo. I was going to answer just after you called my name, but
Okay.
I think Hannah jumped right in.
Okay.
Yeah, so typical example of this activity that I actually participated in at work. Um, Working with teams is not so much of a condition for me. So I remember a particular time when we had to do like an onboarding process, more like a learning on the go situation, where we had new staff come on board. And people have this tendency to want to shine immediately. They want to showcase their skills, they want to showcase their knowledge. And in the process, we're misfiring the knowledge. I don't know if that's the right English
I
anyway,
get that.
but like they know what to do. However, we're not channeling it in the right path. So I had to like do an impromptu session. Okay, what happened was we teach coding to children. Yeah. So while they had the knowledge, teaching it to children is a totally different skill on its own. And so I had to call like an impromptu session. Now, this is after onboarding, this is after they had become staffs, this is after they had joined the team. But I had to call another session and have them like talk about the whole situation, everything that was happening, and I helped them understand why a different approach was necessary. So we are trying to move from this typical education system where you just shout at children, have them memorize a bunch of stuff, and then have them repeat it after you. So I help them understand that, look, remembrance is not the key, rather understanding is what is needed. And I had to give them examples of how we went through the same situation in school and how it has not helped us so far. And so they could relate, and they understood the situation. And I just tried to do it in a way that they didn't feel belittled, in a way that they didn't feel offended. At least they didn't vex with me. So I think I succeeded.
Oh, okay. Um, I was just about to ask, okay, so what they did lead to the results and everything. And I think your result is they didn't vex, they
Yeah.
didn't vex with you. All right. If I would just help you around our area, you were able to get them on the same page at the end of the day. So you might even want to go further with that, because if I recall correctly, I mean, you're trying to train kids, right? With tech skills, right? So whatever you did there will have effects on their learning. Am I correct?
Yes, yes, it
Yeah,
did.
of
It did
course.
have an effect.
So you have to also make sure to also include that, because I mean, the end user of all of the decisions I mean, that you took, right, are still the children, right, and also their parents anyway. So you must be able to track from that time you took, from that situation, what you took, and the decisions you took, and the results, right? Not just even your team members alone, but the impact it had on um, the class. Yeah, we said class. Yeah, class for the kids. Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Additional. That was really, really insightful. Thank you. So as we, I'll not rush through, but get in this. So on the next slide, who who can relate? Who can relate? Can anybody relate? Tell us about yourself, or tell me about yourself. I mean, at the point in my life, I didn't like that question. My God, what do you mean? Tell me about even myself. I'm trying to figure out myself. Tell me about yourself. So, I like this guy. He's unprepared, obviously, like many of us. And the first thing that came to his mind was I was born at a very young age, and I am very sure of uh, the statements that will follow this. It will be a whole lot of information that will not be needed for that particular role. So, um, probably I should have, in my arrangement of the slide, I was just trying to wrap my head. Should I bring this first or not? But I really did not want to take too much time with it, because I really wanted to hit on the management, uh, uh you know, things to know around, interviewing for management roles and all. So this question is something that is common. I don't know. I mean, if they don't say tell us about yourself, they will obviously ask it in a different way. I mean, someone can say, "Can we meet you?" So, can we meet you? That could be very, very annoying. So, the question is, can you meet me? And okay, you have met me. I am me, right? So, when employers ask you questions like that, tell us about yourself. Can we meet you? They they want to know you, right? I wrote it on my slide. Let me just read it. The question, like I tried to illustrate now, it could be very ambiguous, because all of a sudden it's hard to identify what the interviewer wants to really know, right? Does he want to know my family background? Does he want to know what I ate yesterday? Does he want to know if I'm getting married? Okay, that's not happening. Or if I'm getting married next week, right? What does he want to know? And the rush of that, the rush of all of those questions in your head can really throw you off and can make you, just be blabbing away. So, but just like every problem, just like every challenge, there's always an opportunity there, right? And as someone who is interviewing, you must be really, really smart to spot opportunities. That opportunity, I mean, the ambiguity presents an opportunity for you. That is, the interviewee, whoever is interviewing is presenting you, giving you the chance to shape your response. So you are the one that you're the one that is in charge. You're the one that is in control. So you're applying for a you're applying for a product management role, right? Or I keep saying product management because it's should I mean anyway. You're applying for a product management role. It's an opportunity for you to tell them how, how you got there, right? The things you're doing, right? Your strengths. You're going to highlight your strengths and what is motivating you to, apply for the role that you're applying for. So we'll look at how that is done. Let me go to the next slide. So there are some key things here that we should understand. Starting with why you're passionate, I just gave you that overview. Starting with why you're passionate about what you do. So let's say, for instance, like me now, you're pivoting from a different career path to, let's say, software engineering, right? So if that question was posed to me, I can say some. I can okay. Tell me about yourself. Okay, so for 5 years, I studied electrical electronics engineering, but in 500 level. There was somebody who there was a problem. So you come back to the situation, right? There was a problem, and it needed. There was a problem that happened in the department where the records were missing, things like that, blah blah blah, like that. So, and I remember somebody came in from computer science and just wrote a program. He wrote a script, and that program was able to recover the lost files, right? Because of that, that sparked my interest in technology in software engineering, right? And I went to, I met up with this guy, and he told me to enroll at SQI College University, for instance. Now, so I took a full stack engineering course, right? I and that's what I'm currently doing. Or if you're not currently doing that, or probably you finished that already. And you see, I started with I started why I started with why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? I gave a storyline. I picked an interesting point as starting point anyway. What was that interesting point as starting point? Probably a situation, an event that occurred when I was in 500 level in school, right? I bridged that interesting point. I bridged I bridged that interesting point to another point, right? This made me to do this, right? This interest made me to take a course at Ritual, for instance. Now, this event made me to take a course at SQI, for instance. Now, oh, I took this course online, right? And you're going to also conclude with where you are currently. Oh, I have finished this course. I already defended my capstone project. You talk about what you did in your capstone project, and yeah, you talk about what you did, and you close it with a clear and confident will, clear and confident self on why you are the right person for the job. So tell me about yourself. You just literally told the story, right? You started with the storyline, and you picked the interesting points there, right? What happened? What inspired you? What inspired you? And from that, what inspired you? You tell us about the steps you took, and you conclude with where you are currently, right? And you convince them. You try to convince them why you're the right person for that role. You talk about the things you have learned, what you've used these things or tools to do, right? So all of this, tell me about yourself, is you selling yourself, right? You're interviewing for a web developer. You sell yourself in that context, how you started web development, what you have used it to do, right? So basically that's it. So tell me about yourself. Should I don't think after this event it should be something that should throw you off again, right? It shouldn't throw you off. It shouldn't throw you off at all because like I said in my previous slide, I mean the interviewer is presenting an opportunity for you, right, to shape your response. So you are the one that will, I mean, concisely put your response together and make it convincing for the interviewer. So we're at that point where someone is going to tell me about his or herself, right? So here you're going to open your camera, right? I mean, it's an opportunity to sell yourself. You don't know who might be on this call, right? So uh, I won't mention it. I will only mention it if nobody volunteers. So who's going to volunteer? Anybody? Anybody? Should I pick names? Mr. Daniel, do you want to go? Oh, Mr. Daniel said something. There's some people that have not said a number of things here. Hmm. Miss Mercy Okaranya. I'm so sorry if I messed up your name. Really, really sorry. Do you want to go? The mock interview has started though. Anybody wants to go? Mr. Daniel, I think we're not much on this call. So, I mean, you can, Miss Easy Go, Cholarin. That's okay. Someone is raising hand. No light. Don't worry, praise. I got you. I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Um, Inform Mobong Sunday. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name correctly. Mr. Tony Rubens. Okay.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Do you mind switching on your camera?
All right, let me just try. I'll just give it a try.
All right.
Yeah.
No
And
light.
there's no light
Everybody's
actually.
blaming no light now.
So okay.
Okay. No Allah. It's because we're in Nigeria. Okay.
Okay, let me just
Such is life.
such is
Okay.
left.
Tell me about yourself.
Okay. Um my name is Ofonobon Sunday and currently I work as a data analyst. How I transitioned into data analysis was when I attended a tech event one time like that. That was in 2022. Yeah. Then it was actually a deaf first event. It happened at Tropicana. So there, one of the speakers there was a data analyst. Actually, she spoke about how to transition into data analysis. So while she was speaking, I actually got interest. I got interest in what she was saying. So that made me even want to also transition into data analysis. Then I was a student, so I didn't know what field to go into, right? So because of that, after the event, I met her, and then I got to know like different courses I should take, different courses I should apply in order to start learning this analysis. So she recommended Coursera for me. I started taking, okay, I didn't take the Coursera course yet. I applied for the um financial aid. Then I did not get it. So one of my friends there I met during the tech event, she recommended another scholarship for me that I can take. She took the scholarship, so she was like, I should go ahead and try. So I applied for it and I started taking the course there. Then I took the course for like a period of 3 months. Yes. Then got certificate. I worked on several projects. even after the course. Then I also applied for another one again, another scholarship program. Worked on several. I worked on several projects as well. Then along the line, I got the opportunity to take to be mentored by one of my colleagues or my friend. Then that was how I s- I kept on working on projects. That was how I was now referred to Root. And currently I work as a data analyst instructor at the Root. How
Okay.
is that?
Okay, that was brilliant. That was interesting. Really, I mean, I have a lot of insights. So there are things I could bring out from there. First of all, I understand how you started. You know, you're a data analyst. You mentioned that. So you told me, or you told us how you started your career as a data analyst, how you met somebody, person, you know, told you what to do. You took the course, you got a scholarship, right? Obviously, you spent some
Yes.
time doing learning, right? Now, I'm interested in okay, you've learned,
Yeah.
right? Some things, some of these,
Yeah.
some of these interviewers don't like to hear is when they hear something like, "I worked on several projects," right? So when you say I worked on several projects, immediately they're expecting you to, follow it up with, okay, what kind of project? What what was the nature of the project? And what problem did this project solve? What were you trying to achieve when you did this project? So you're telling us about yourself. You told us about how you started with data analysis, or started with taking some courses, and how. So I want to know, okay, the effects of those courses. You you're taking those courses now. In those courses, you are now able to, take do some projects. I want to know what project. What did you do? Right? So remember, you are having, especially when you're in an interview with people who will be your potential members. Probably you can have a senior data analyst there, right? I remember I was on a call recently with a client, and it was an hospital anyway. So they're trying to use our product. So the person who was leading the meeting, right, is just an admin person. He doesn't have any technical background. When I say technical background, I mean in the health sector, it's just administrator. So my colleague that was pitching, right, he was pitching with the understanding that it's not just the admin that is there. There are doctors there too, right? So whatever you say you have worked on, you must be able to communicate clearly. I mean, the doctors must be able to hear clearly that, oh, this person is speaking my language, not just something vague, that just says, okay, I worked on several projects. You can even have someone who can be really, really nasty and say, okay, list all the projects. Say several projects, right? But that's story for another day. So I hope you got that.
Yeah. I do.
Yeah.
Correction
So
noted.
great. So in your practice, when I like the way you started, uh, right? So when you get to places like that, it's something that I think you should, practice more often, right? You be you'll be able to, I'm sure you actually worked on several projects, right? But you don't have the time to say, well, all of the projects. You pick the first three that you know that they are, they rank high. You rank all the projects that you did. There are some projects that you did that probably is just beginner project too, right? But you move from beginner to pro and the likes like that. So I have like a brief insight to who you are, and it helps me to follow up with questions like, okay, you're at Root now, you're working as a data analyst. Okay, tell me about a time, what we were doing the last time. Tell me about a time that this happened. So I want to believe you have an idea of how to answer that too, right? Follow box Sunday. Did you hear what I said?
Sorry? Yeah.
Did you get what I said?
No, please say that again.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
it's all right. So I said that you've told me about yourself now. At the end of your what you said, I know right now you're working at Root Hub as a data analyst. Remember, you're also going to highlight what your activities are and the value you are bringing to that table. I mean, the value you are bringing to Root Hub, right? So if I see if I have the understanding that, oh, you're adding value there, right, and you're able to communicate it clearly, right, it gives me the the freedom, the opportunity to ask you, questions around, tell me about a time when, have you ever worked under pressure, things like that. And that's what you use the star approach to answer. Did you get that?
Yes, yes, I get
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a good one. Does anybody else want to go? Anybody else? Anybody else? I know, to some extent, I know Mr. Daniel additional. I know to some extent, I mean he works with he works with a team, and probably they've organized a program for kids probably last summer. I can relate to that because I also had a team that did that last August too. So I want to call his name again, Mr. Praise. I'd love to meet you too. Let's go. I know you said no like, but let me meet you. Can I meet you? Is Mr. Praise still on the call?
Sorry, sir. Will you say something
Yeah,
to
tell me about yourself.
Okay, I'm Praise Gabriel. I'm a data
Hello,
analyst
Praise.
with half a decade of experience.
Great.
I started my journey far back when I picked an interest in technology as a whole, tech, far back as a teenager when I was watching this sci-fi movie, and I picked interest in how this hacker guy could just sit in his house and use his system to turn off traffics, unlock doors and stuff like that for his bankers and before his robbers, fellow robbers to move on with it with one heist
Mhm.
like that. And then when I was discussing with my friend, I was like, is that even possible that someone would use a laptop and do all of those stuff? And then they were like, yes, that is hacking, that is cyber security. I was like, what is cyber security? So further research, further talk, further gist brought me to the whole tech stuff. And when I made further research during my IT period, I finally landed myself in data analysis after a whole lot of deliberation on which course or which tech I should, which aspect of tech I should delve into. So I started um, my whole tech career 1 year before I joined the Root Hub internship program, and that's where I got more exposure. I got more light after my internship period with them. I was called back start to start working with them, and from that time on till now, I've been enjoying data analysis. I've been making insightful reports for companies and businesses at large, and I think I'm ready for any futuristic role, or any future role that may be happening now.
All right. Thank you. That was also good. Um, the I like how you started with the half a decade. Numbers are really, really important also in the professional space, right? Half a decade. If anybody's not listening before, when he hears half a decade, he looks up. You've gotten his attention already, right? So for the rest of us, we can also take note of that too. So numbers are really, really important. So you talked about you talked about that. Then you gave the story of how you've been passionate about this. since when you were young because of a probably a movie you watched, right? So when you're talking about things like that, so make sure that it is short and precise. You go straight to the point. You don't beat around the bush, especially when it gets to it, especially when you've not hit the nail, when you've not hit the point you want to hit to. So uh, you have given the interviewer an insight into who you are and where you are at the moment, right? Where you are at the moment. So the last point on the slide here say close with a clear and confident seller why you are the right person for that role, right? So in what you've told me, I was following. Then the next thing was, I think you said something like you are confident that you are ready for the next is it challenge that I'm trying to remember what you said. So it's not you that will just say that statement like that. You have to have said things that even your interviewer, right, in this case, will make that conclusion for you. Like, oh, with this and this guy has done. This guy is ready. So it goes back to what I shared with this former Bonk Sunday, right? You are selling yourself, right? So you're also going to mention things that you have done, right? And when it comes to data analysis, you're dealing with numbers too, one way or the other, figures, right? So you're giving insight. Okay, you did this, it led to this. This goes back to the star approach. So even from tell me about yourself, I dare say that you can end the interview in a very good way there, right? From tell me about yourself, you can control the narrative, right? So you just have to make sure that if you're going to control the narrative, you're going to give them something to work with. You'll not keep them, like guess, when some of these people are guessing too much, right? They start asking very funny questions, right? And you don't want funny questions, right? Because we are here for an interview. And sometimes when funny questions start flying about, you start to get fidgety and all. You don't want that. So you have to be clear, precise about and put emphasis on what you have done. Or the storyline you've told me, what it led you to this current point. What are you doing currently that you're using to add value to the place you are currently? And how is it affecting them? Mr. Praise, did you get that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's how you approach that, right? So tell me about yourself. Is it time to sell yourself? We're all marketers, one way or the other. It's something I've learned in recent years. You and I, we are selling something. When you're marketers, it's not until you start hawking something or selling stuff. You yourself, you are selling yourself, right? And people must you get the point. People must buy the idea of you, right? But before they buy the idea of you, you must give them that. You must convince them. You know, you must convince them. You must convince them. So no experience of yours. I would like to add this. No experience of yours, is a waste. Even this webinar that you are attending, I mean, it's something that if you're in an interview tomorrow, right? Attended this conference, attended that webinar, this, all of those things too, highlighted on your CV. So that's it. Let's move on. I said something I said something earlier. The interview is a question, right? It is, that's a question. It's a conversation, right? It's a conversation. So it will not speak well of you if you enter an interview and they ask all the questions and they ask you, or so probably someone like a senior manager ask you, what questions do you have for us? And you say nothing. Ah, that's a big problem. You should never say no, right? I have a theory. If you disturb me with questions like this, right, I'll also disturb you with questions. I have to ask questions. You have to ask questions. You don't just leave, right? It's your opportunity to also demonstrate curiosity, right? Remember what C-level executives are always looking for. They're looking for people who are inquisitive, right? And who are very curious, right? If you are curious about the company that you want to work with, I mean, to a very large extent, you already become a, a fit for that company. So you are also going to ask your own questions so that you can gather more insights about the job, right? About the job, about the company, about the team. You know, how does the team operate, right? If you are applying as a product manager, you ask the questions, a very vital question of how often are new features released, right? How do you release a feature? And how do you release new features? You know, what's the modus operandi of releasing new features? You know, you could start like, oh, in our conversation, I didn't really get in our conversation, nobody has really says anything about how this company releases features. So I would just like to get an insight on that so that you know if you're like me, I'll say by the time I get this role, hopefully I'll be able to have an idea of what I am walking into, right? So are there you ask all the important questions too. You ask about things. I mean, asking about your salary is not. I mean, asking about what you're going to earn is not a bad idea at all, right? But before you ask about money and all of those things, make sure the questions you're asking are questions that will keep will keep the interviewers on their own toes so that they'll be able to convince you. You know, you can be so good with your interview, and when they respond back to you, you can say, no, I'm not convinced, right? Just the way the interviewer will conclude that he's not convinced about a particular candidate, the candidate who also can also be convinced that now this place is not for me, right? So uh, you should also ask questions. Okay, when I started this class, I likened the interview process to two people wanting to date each other, right? Um, if I like you, you have to like me back. I mean, if you like me, I have to like you back too, right? It's a two-way something. So even after all the win and win, I mean, if she says no, why is it always if she says no? I don't know. Sometimes he can say no too. Pardon me, sorry. So if she says no, no is no. There is nothing you can do about it. So in the interview process, especially if you're just starting out, be prepared for a lot of rejections, right? Don't, I mean, it's part of it. Rejections, especially in interview, it's to me it presents an opportunity to be better. So when you are being rejected in a good way anyway, because we have some companies that they have this bad habit of not even getting back to people. So if you're a startup founder here, right, and you're building a company, please don't have a culture of when you want to hire people, you get their details and you don't get back to them. It's a very, very crazy habit, which I think that should be eradicated as soon as possible in this part of the world. So when you're rejected, ensure to collect insights and learnings from each interview. What did I say wrong? What can I do to improve? Right? Reflect, get feedback. Right? I mean, if you thought you did well, you can, especially if you're a great communicator, you can reach out to probably the recruiter and politely ask for his or her feedback. Right? You could reach out on LinkedIn. You could reach that any communication channel. you should be able to get feedback so that you can reflect on it. All of these things will help you build resilience, right? It makes you better, right? Rejection many times makes you better. So, and you cannot be rejected for life, right? No, 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 you can't. There will always be times where, you know, the company will actually say yes to you. So, and it's always a very beautiful moment. So, for management roles, um, one of the common challenges staying too focused on technical tasks, especially you're interviewing for a management role, and I mean, all your what you are just talking about are the technical aspects. You are unable to put it side by side with business goals and objectives. So the reason for that is limited exposure to leadership opportunities and lack of understanding of business priorities. So as a professional going into into management roles, you must seek opportunities to lead, right? Volunteer. I mean, you can't be as a tech professional, especially in this part of the world. In fact, everywhere, you should volunteer, right? It builds so many things with you. If you volunteer for it, I mean, to work with a team, you learn how to work with a team, right? If you volunteer to lead a team, there you learn the ups and downs of leading a team. If you volunteer to take up a position to handle money for that team, you learn, how to, manage the resources for that team, right? So, you should, I mean, as a manager, you must always be, two, three steps ahead of the game. So, apart from volunteering, seek mentorship. You see, this mentorship stuff is not black and white, right? Many times people think, okay, hello, please, can you be my mentor? Many people don't have that time. If anybody has that time to say, okay, yes, I want to be a mentor, that person really, really, probably that person is really intentional. But many people don't have time to say. I mean, imagine someone you respect and admire, just know that a number of persons are also asking that same question. So you want to be smart because you're a manager, right? You want to be higher of the game. Mentorship can come in various forms, right? Especially someone from America or far East Asia can mentor you, right? His Facebook post, his Twitter post, his YouTube channel. For instance, I love this guy, Vusi Tembek. Why? I hope I got that right. I hope I didn't murder his name. Really. I love listening to him, right? If anybody says, is he my mentor? Well, maybe because I listen to him almost every time, right? So when you listen to one ways of seeking mentorship, especially if you can't really get them, physically or have one-on-one mentorship opportunities, look out for their, Facebook. I mean, look out for their posts on social media. By all means, if you have physical mentorship opportunities, take it, right? Take it, because you are gunning for a top role, not same sport. So as we close, how to get better? Practice, practice a lot, practice a lot. How do you practice? Don't run away from conversations. Don't be afraid to have conversations, please. Um, Always look for opportunities to converse with people, your colleagues, your family, church members, uh, the bike man, the market woman, you know, communicate, communicate. That's how you practice. It's not at the interview that you practice, right? You practice before then. There's this thing people do where people they practice in front of the mirror. I won't say it's wrong. I won't say it's right. Just do whatever works for you, right? Do whatever works for you to make you better. What I do, I read. You also, I think whoever is going to be a manager should be a reader, right? They say readers are leaders. Well, I think now I believe you should read, right? You should listen to podcasts. I dare say every day. Create your YouTube. What do I mean by create your YouTube? I just actually added this evening. Create your YouTube. did. See, if you're going for management positions, if I open your YouTube page and all I see is comedy, I mean, you're not ready, right? Create your YouTube page to have, I mean, well, I said seek mentorship. Follow people who have a semblance of where you're going to, right? And listen to them every day, every day, every day. They will make you better. They will make you better. So I have these two books that will make you I think if you read two of my favorite books, The Fine Arts of Small Talk. And actually this is my favorite. So good they can't ignore you by Cal Newport. It's a really they're really good books that will make you a better communicator actually. Because I believe you if you're able to communicate, right, there's nothing you won't I mean there's nothing you won't be able to handle, right? Uh then this Think Fast, Talk Smart is a podcast program. I mean, they release episodes every day. Lenny's podcast, if you're a product manager here, I mean, not just product manager, any role, especially in the tech space, this podcast is for you, where you get to listen to industry experts from all over the world, you know, every single day so every week, right? So this guy interviews them, right? So you also get an insight into how they respond to questions and how they conduct themselves on the interview. Um, yeah, I think that's all for. Thank you, thank you so much. I really hope we enjoyed my time with you guys. I think I can take questions now. Really, let me take questions. Questions. So that's it. I really hope I believe that everything that we've learned today, you know, if we put them to practice, it makes us better professionals. We're not just. I used to tell people if you're going to be a web developer, don't just be. Yeah, we have plenty web developers all over the place. Enough, enough web developers. So you're going to make the decision to be the web developer, right? The web developer, the product manager, right? So when you think about product management, is your name that comes to mind. So that's kind of career I also want to build for myself, and I really hope you do the same thing too. So, well, it all starts with the interview anyway, and which I believe you will crush with these tips. Thank you. Questions?
Okay, Mr. Dolapo, all right. I have a
Yeah,
question, please. Okay,
sure.
this question of what do you bring to the table? Please, how do I
Mhm.
go about go about answering that question? I've heard about that question. I keep hearing, what do you bring to the table? How do I go about answering that question, please?
What do you bring to the table is um, basically they want to know, okay, how are you going to help us? I mean, what value are you bringing to this company, right? Why should we hire you? That's it. Did you get it? Why should we hire you? So it goes back to you the little corrections I made in Tell Me About Yourself, right? Where you
Okay.
where you talk more about the things that you did, right? In whatever space that you were at that particular moment, and the result of the things that you did because I mean the result of those things that you did because of the skills that you've learned, right? So if
Oh,
they ask you, what do you bring to the table? You're highlighting your strengths, right? Things that you've done in the past, right? That you are proud of, that affected the lives of other people, right? That affect now, for instance, now Mr. Daniel Additional talked about a project with kids working with developers, right? So whoever is on that interview panel knows for sure that what is bringing to the table, this man or this individual has project management skills because he was able to do this, right? And he can work with teams or team members too, right? So did you
yeah.
get that? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, so you must just have that mindset right now that, oh, how am I going to put it? You must be preparing for an interview from tonight, right? So you try to, curate, things that you've done and very intentional about the things that you'll be doing uh, from tonight into next week, because one day you have to talk about them. One day, whether it's in an interview or probably on the stage
True.
somewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mr. Omoko. Ifon Nobong. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm murdering your name. I stayed for a while in New York. Actually, I don't know why I'm not getting your name properly. Yeah, Mr. Praise. Okay,
Okay, so thank you for the
okay.
wonderful session. I deeply appreciate you too, Miss Hannah McConley. So I have a little question about um salary negotiation. How do we go about salary negotiation?
How do you, that one is not little question. Did you just call money situation little question? Anyway, yeah, how do you go about salary negotiation? There is no, how will I put it? There is no, it's not a black and white situation. There's no like perfect fit for it. Now, if you're in an interview setting and the conversation gets to salary, let's say they're the ones that bring it up, right? So you have to be patient to hear what they have to say. Now, before you hear what they have to say, remember before you came into the interview, this thing, you have researched the company, right? You have one way or that, because see, especially management roles, you must be very meticulous. When I say research, right? Researching the company to the point where one way or the other you've had conversations with people who have worked there or who are working there, right? So to give you an idea, for instance, now if you're interviewing for a role, you're following people who have been in that role before. So they will give you an idea of what maybe the salary is like, right? So you're going there with that mindset, right? So if they bring up the whole situation, salary situation, which I believe most of the time they should be, I mean, they should do. It's you, I mean, it's not going to be strange to you, right? So from there, oh, they're offering something, right? You, if you're not satisfied with it in your heart of heart, it's not the time to say, oh, I'm not satisfied with it. It's actually the time for you to actually still convince them of your of the value you are bringing to the table and how that value in other places is being appreciated this way, right? Mr. President, did you get that?
Yes, sir. I get your point.
That's that's one side of the coin. The second side of the coin is when they don't even talk about it at all. When they don't talk about it at all, probably they're trying to avoid something. You have every right to bring it up, right? You have every right to bring it up, especially in your questions. What's the remuneration of this role like? Do you understand? So you have, especially for companies that don't want to talk about it there, you have given them, I mean, you have opened that floor to talk. So to talk about salary, uh, what's it called, negotiation. So it's actually a it's a tricky situation. But I believe that if you know what you're doing, you're able to when it comes to negotiation, you're able to negotiate. One of the reasons you know what you're doing is you have researched the role. You have researched the average remuneration of that role. You have spoken to people who have been in that role or people who are affiliated to that company for. So you have an idea. So it gives you leverage to be able to. And when you're talking, you won't even talk as though you have spoken with anybody in the company, right? But you're talking from a point you're talking from the standpoint of what you're talking about, right? Standpoint of knowledge, right? So the more you know, the more leverage you have to be able to negotiate your salary.
Give us an illustration.
Hmm?
Like, give us an illustration.
Okay, give you an illustration. Who wants to negotiate with me?
Yeah.
Wait, before I give you an illustration, did Mr. Praise get that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Illustration. Who wants to negotiate salary with me?
Mrs. Hannah Macaulay.
Oh my God, I'm in trouble. Okay. Let me pretend that I'm
Why are
in
you saying
trouble.
you're in trouble?
Because this woman likes money.
Okay. All right. Go
All
with
right, so
it. Okay. So which role are you
I'm that
playing?
employer that has not talked about salary. So how do you come in the picture?
Okay. Okay. Excuse me, sir, hiring manager, interviewer. May I
Okay.
ask a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I noticed that we have not actually talked about the aspect of remuneration for this particular role. And I would like to get clarity on what my expectations should be if if I take up this role.
Well, that's a very good question. So you're applying for a role, you're applying for the product manager role. And this is me being very honest though, right? So you're applying for a product manager role, and this is the remuneration of this role, 500,000 US dollars. You won't be smiling like that. Oh my
Is
God.
it in a month? Is it in a
Eh,
month? Is it in a year?
no, and
I
that's not
would
how
just,
to ask questions though.
okay.
That's not how to ask questions. Okay.
Sorry, sir. I think you should start with a very low price, like 2,500 naira a month.
No, I'm not starting with the low price. You know why I'm doing that, because it's not there is there's no rule book for it, right? Um the interviewer can mention an amount that will throw you off. The way I mentioned 500,000 US dollars now. Imagine I mentioned 20,000 naira.
What kind of stuff I had job is that? All
Is
right.
that what you will say? Okay, but let me go with
Yeah,
suggestion.
yeah.
2,500. Okay, that's so embarrassing. Go 2,500 US dollars per month for the product manager role. And as time goes on, in the next 2 years, we can always have an upward salary review of your remuneration. Does that sit well with you?
Well, it depends on what you mean by an upward salary review. What are the metrics that will be used to um, identify if I have actually performed or outperformed my tax, which will now result in a review for my salary?
Exactly. So that's where the KPIs come in, especially for, okay, I keep saying product management because that's the field I'm into, right? So for as a product manager now, your end users are the clients, right? So there could be different KPIs. Now a KPI could be KPI is key performance indicators. Sorry for if you didn't get that. So for instance, now, probably every month, we're expected to meet a particular quota, not just quota, or probably as a I mean, the former product manager that was there, or they don't have any manager, and they are trying to get at least 10 clients every month, right? I just mentioned the figure, right? So one of the reasons they're bringing you to the table is because they believe that you can bring 10 clients I mean, 10 clients to the, I mean, add 10 clients to their portfolio, right? So if that happens, that's just one key performance indicator. So different, just like I said, different companies will have different key performance indicators. Is that right? So that they will use to measure, okay, if there's going to be a salary review, that they will use to actually, that will influence them actually reviewing the whole this salary structure. Yeah. So if you are not, I mean, if you are not, especially, it depends on the company, like I said, if you are not convinced, don't stop with the questions. That's just because the reason why you're not convinced is because you have made your research. The reason why you will be easily convinced, right, is because you don't really know anything about that role, especially when it comes to the value that is attached to that role. But if they say something, and because of the researches that you have put, that the researches that you have done, right? If you're not convinced, you're able to say, but how about, right? But how about, can I mean, in the job market, right? In the job market, it said that product managers at this my level, are entitled to this, right? So you're if it's a serious company, right? And let me let in you on a little secret. It's not a secret anyway. No person who wants to hire you, right? When they want to pay you, right? They don't. I mean, it is they are saving. They don't want to lose, right? So they will start with what favors them. They will always start with what favors them. And if you're cool with it, they're cool with it. If you're not cool with it, you have to give them reasons why you're not cool with it, right? And if they're able to meet, your reasons, you can reach a compromise, right? If they're not able to, it now depends on you whether to accept it or just make a decision by yourself and say no. Okay, not for me. And I don't have $2,500 for you. Thank you.
I quit. I quit.
All right. I'm not sure. Okay. About Mr. Praise and Miss Former. Oh God, this is embarrassing to me.
Invulnerable.
Infonobong. I'm sorry, so sorry. Infonobong.
Right.
Was I able to answer your question at least? So, and
Yes.
also the podcast that I sent to you, Think Fast. What was it? Think Fast. How did I just forget my podcast name? Sorry. Think Fast, Talk Smart. I don't know. I wanted to say Think
Smart
Fast.
talk, man.
Yeah, I wanted to say think fast, talk slow. I knew that thing makes sense. Think fast, talk smart. So there are also different ways on how to approach negotiation at the table. And I think there are some episodes on it too, and also on Lenny's podcast too. So in fact on YouTube you can just say Lenny's podcast salary with keyword, you see a particular episode that also addresses that. Yep. Mr. Priest, yeah.
Sorry, sir. Can you display the list of the podcast again so that we could take a screenshot? And for the books, how can we get the books too?
Okay, you can see my screen now.
I can see it now.
Okay, great. So that's it. How can you get the books? Well, I am not a fan of downloading e-copies, but some people download e-copies. But if I believe you should get physical books. In I don't know about bookshops in Yo, but I'm sure there will be bookshops in Yo. Hannah should give more information on that. But if you want to order some of these books, I know a store in Lagos Lagos is so far from you, so I think there should be bookshops in here that sells books like this. So good they can't ignore you. So, but there's a store on Twitter, Roving Heights. So you can also reach out to them and say you want so book, and they'll order and they'll bring for you. So that's how I think you can get the books, right? Does that answer your question? You can also download online,
Okay, thank you.
basically. Yeah, but I'm a fan for physical books. And also, let's not forget on Spotify. I think Spotify has podcast audio. You can get audiobooks for some of these books if you don't want physical copy. I think I like audiobooks too. You can get audiobooks on YouTube. You can download Audible. Audible is an app on Play Store. I think it's on Apple Store too. So Audible, it's just that you have to pay some subscription fee anyway. But I don't think it's too expensive. You are able to curate a lot of books and read, and it will read it back to you. So that's actually I use that when I'm reading physical books too. So just to have that whole experience. Yep. Does that Are we good, Mr. Praise?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great, great, great. So you guys can get in touch. I'm not sure I put my contact here, but you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn. I think it's just LinkedIn. I'm not sure my Twitter account is visible at the moment, but in case of a case, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Can do so much more together now and also in the future too. So uh, if you're going to be a manager, you shouldn't run away from people you interact with, because you get to work with people all over the world. When I mean all over the world, also in Nigeria, different people. So someone that you're talking to today, right, might be someone that you might need to get something done in the future. So you must be an excellent communicator and be able to keep in touch with people, not bore them with too much conversation, but just stay in touch, interacting with their posts, so that they know that you are there. You get. So that's it. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll hand over the mic back to Hannah.
Thank you so much, Dolapo Odeshola. It has
Thank you.
been a pleasure. And please, a round of applause for him. It's not easy. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been a very insightful session. And I believe everyone that has been here from the beginning up until now has been able to learn one or two things. And we've actually carried away. First things first, I didn't actually know of the STAR method. Like, I have actually been in an interview situation where it was required. Well, they asked me, okay, in a given situation, like, what did you do and how did you go about it? I didn't actually know it was called the STAR method. And that is actually, it's good to know right now that, okay, STAR: situation, task, action, and result. Thank you so much. Is there anybody that has any other question, anything that you would like to bring to light before we wrap it up for the evening? So even if you miss most of the parts of the session, the recording is going to be available in 24 hours, and it should be up on our YouTube channel, say in maybe 2 hours after. Once we get it, we'll put it up. So before Monday, by Monday, the video should be there, the recording should be there. So you can go back, you can go through it all over again. Any aspect that you actually miss, you can actually look at that over again. And we're always here, to the best of our abilities. If you have any questions, something you didn't understand, something you're trying to actually work on, even if you want us to do mock interview for you, well, it can be arranged. So Either way, thank you so much, Dolapo. Thank you everyone that came out tonight that actually stayed up until this hour. It's not easy. Tomorrow or next week we go again. We're going to be focusing on building our personal brand. And I love you to tell your friends, tell your family, tell your church members, tell your co-workers, your acquaintance, your associates. Just make sure everybody is here because branding is how we differentiate ourselves in this world. There's so many people doing the same thing like you and I, but then what makes us stand out is branding. So thank you so much. If we do not have any question, any other thing, I would call it a night. And I hope you
Oh,
practice.
sorry.
Yes.
500,000 US dollars is not too much, Mr. Praise. It's not too much at all. If you're good with what you're doing, there are jobs that pay that much, right? So, as managers, we shouldn't, underestimate what we could do. If you're good, value, I mean, your skills will attract, value all over the place. So keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you, boss.
Yeah,
All right. So to wrap it up, value has no gender. If you're
that's
valuable, you're
not
valuable.
that's
So,
not what I said, Chabo. It's
so
fine.
I summarized it for you. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Do have a good night and have a fruitful week ahead. All right. Take
Yeah.
care.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Mr. Dolapo, please, hey, God, please help me to tell him to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay, no problem. I'll do that. Okay, he's back. Dolapo. Dolapo.
Yeah, I heard my
Okay.
name. I dropped
Yeah,
already.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Praise.
So I was asking, I was requesting to connect on LinkedIn. I have sent you a connect
Oh,
request.
okay. I'll check that. I'll
Thank
check
you.
that. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Good night and happy weekend.
Yeah. Same here. Bye.
Bye.